Hi everybody, thank you for coming tonight. I'm Lucy Handley, in charge of the adult programs at the library. I'm very happy to welcome you all and our lovely poet laureate Barb Jennis. A couple of things. I've been asked to say that we have a new song circle at the Ridgefield Library. It's the third Thursday. Two of our librarians started it and they had a riot at the first one on the 17th. So anyone is welcome to come. If you can play your instruments or sing or anything you like. It's the third Thursday of the month. So it was the 17th, but yeah. 6:30. No, 6 to 7:30. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. It was a last minute request.
I threw her off.
Okay, so when you read your poems, you can either be here at the podium, speaking to the microphone, or we have this microphone which you can turn on and go wherever you like. And now it's time for Barb Jennis.
I knew you'd do that. There you go. I want to, before we get started, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Before we get started, I want to just remember the Ukrainian people who are having an awful time with it right now. And maybe we can give a round of ringing to them. So, just a couple of things before we get started. We have, besides the wonderful singing circles coming up, or music circles, we have on April 23rd, it's a Saturday, an incredible event. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Witness Stones Project, which is where local communities, historical societies, investigate the biographies of enslaved people who have lived in those communities. And these four poets, including Marilyn Nelson, who you may know, she's a young adult writer, she does poetry, she does fiction, she does nonfiction, and these other three poets have all adopted some of these enslaved people's biographies and written like persona poems about them. And they will be reading their works at the Meeting House here in town, up in Ridgebury, that wonderful historic church in very New England. Incredible place to have it. It's indoors in this quintessential New England setting. So we hope, it's, I'll leave some flyers back in the back. You do register on the Meeting House. It is co-sponsored by Ridgefield Library. So it's going to be a really very wonderful event, both in person and on Zoom, so you can attend either way. So I hope you'll join us for that. And we have 14 poets tonight, which is a lot of fun. We started with towards the beginning of the week, it was like, I gotta get more poets. So we're very grateful that lots of folks came forward. We're giving the order, but I'll also let people know when they're coming up. We have Martha Talbert first, Jim Joyce, Leslie Lambden, Ben Shaw, Gwen North Reese, Ross James, Susan Sheridan, Jay Blau, Jesse Lyman, Owen Lucas, Dawn Hetrick, Donna Dish, Marcia Simha, and then I'll end if there's still time. If they don't turn off the lights on us like they did last time we were here. So, first up, Martha, and she'll be followed by Jim. So, welcome. Okay, I'm going to hold here. I do better when I'm reading them. Yeah, definitely. If I can get up here, I'm tripping.
Nothing wrong with tripping.
Good evening. Is this, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, I have some spring and garden poems. The first poem is called Passing Through, Thoughts in Springtime. Here's what daffodils have to say as they sparkle in the cold with bold cachet. We're brash and sassy, unabashed, we blare what's new. But you better notice quickly, we're just passing through. Gotta go now, toodaloo. Here's what cherry blossoms have to say when they burst among us on a warm spring day. Our candy pink here in a blink is gone in two. You better notice quickly, because we're passing through. Gotta go now, toodaloo. Here's what springtime has to say, as with her lacy wand she waves the chill away. I lift the grays, renew your days with brightened hue. But you better notice quickly, I'm just passing through. Gotta go now. Toodaloo. Here's what a lifetime has to say, as at the stage of golden age it slips away. I'm unsurpassed, but I can't last. Alas, it's true. So you better notice quickly, I'm just passing through. All right, I'll jump over to weeds. And time me, please, tell me, because I don't have any idea how long it's. I only have a few short ones. Carpe diem. Weeds seize the moment. They don't care. We'll shimmy up a garden stair or fill a crack and not look back. Then leave a million trillion seeds. We have a lot to learn from weeds.
Wonderful.
Okay. This one is called Easter. Her life takes a downward turn in spring while the garden grows. Blinded by drama, she misses the chartreuse shoots, the flutter of phoenix wings, misses the metaphor entirely, engrossed in misery rightfully hers, while the garden grows and pays her no mind until she has time to grow herself. All right, then, okay, this one's called soul gardening. Dig deep through dense clods of moist self. Get messy. Let earthworms till the way to angels who live down here and not up top, where smiling faces bloom along the wall. That's called soul gardening. I've done plenty of that. Okay, the final one is called sunflower, and we'll be getting those soon enough. She leaps up in a hurry of green. I watch her progress from seed to stalk, as thick as an arm. What a woman, 7 feet tall in 2 months' time. Her mighty flower head lifts in wonder, following the sun's arc. But today she's depressed, neck bent, big moon face averted, staring at dirt. I hear her mutter, I've had my day, I've had my day, and want to shout, no, lift your head and see the line of cardinals, wrens, and finches waiting to feast on your seeds.
Thank you, Laura. All right, next up we have Leslie Lambden, and she'll be followed by Ben Shaw.
Hello everyone, so nice to be here. All right, so glasses, no glasses, glasses I guess. Okay. Pickup truck. I was 4, maybe 5, and lying in the back of a pickup truck under warm blankets looking up at the night sky. We'd been camping out in the bush in New South Wales. I remember the tin tub all of us filthy kids would bathe in, because 50 years later that tub is still tucked in a photo I have in a book upstairs. But the stars are those I can never forget or capture. The way the universe wrapped around me and got so deep into my soul's bones, I would know forever I had the earth's blessing, its pulsing yet unblinking love. This next one is called Apartment, and it's for my stepdad Randolph, who passed away 2 years ago last month. Apartment. Suddenly the rooms look bigger and more of them. Your absence, presence as solid as the cabinet that rattles the empty glasses. We walk lightly, like intruders, check around each corner.
Search every silence, still expecting you. Like a couple of spring poems. This first one is about Good Friday. Last Friday. On Friday you spoke of forgiveness. We turned away and went about our business, scurrying blind around the edges of every invisible hill on which you hung starlight, a celebrant of life that all the dead ones took for death. A very short one, Crocus, which is actually the title of my little chapbook that came out like 20 years ago. I need to get on with a new book one of these days. Crocus. Despite the effort of the crocus, I lie under hard soil, still doubting the certitude of spring. Pass, fail. That's like pass/fail. What if, when we get to the pearly gates, the question is not how good were you, how bad, but how much did you pay attention? Name me 43 species of trees, 10 words for snow and why, 5 types of kisses for babies. Which star would be the best to guide you home, and which to give you comfort if you had no home? And this I dedicate to my wonderful husband, who is here in the front row. And to everyone who has to go through a lot to just make the family run smoothly. You know who you are. Holding back the flood. God must be a man like you, climbing out of the bedroom window in the dead of night, in the pounding rain and the flash of light, to clear leaves from the blocked gutter. We all sleep on, oblivious to the lay of the land and the fact that all rivers lead to our basement. Then you're up at dawn to turn on the big light and make tea and toast enough so the rest of the world can open its jaded eyes to another day of your making. You try to teach manners to temperamental children. We refuse to share. Stamp our tiny feet till the walls you just repaired come tumbling down again. No wonder you look exhausted, the rings of Saturn around your eyes, trying to keep it all together with nothing but a million miracles you pull daily from a hat to little or no applause. You got your applause. All right, just 2 more. All right. Now this one I've been working on for years, but finally this afternoon I just cut out the last 3 stanzas that I couldn't deal with, and I think this actually might be better. So let's hope it holds up. There is a moment. There is a moment after I wake up, but before I'm fully awake, when I don't know who I am, or even what country or what century I'm in. Will I spend the day running over the stony ground from a husband twice my age, my shoulders aching under the weight of water, the heat of a veil? Or will the city press its frozen face at my window, drag me from my bed to the cotton mill, as I go hungry to feed history's raucous machine? Or am I a soldier looking down the barrel of a gun, my finger a trigger, my heart a bullet, unable to resist the order to kill? And then I'm going to end on a bit of a lighter note. This one is called Tonight. It's a short one. Tonight, the moon lies low among the trees, as gentle and heavy as a good heart. I lie beneath the horizon in my tucked-up house, looking out at a world grown luminous under her fat haze. A nugget of brilliance to keep us hopeful till morning.
Thank you, Leslie. All right, we have next up Deb Shaw and followed by Wentworth Reese.
First, I want to just dedicate this to a very special person in this room. Martha.
Yay,
She was the
Martha.
one that-
Wait, hold on.
She was the one that inspired me to write. And if anybody knew me in high school, they would say, absolutely not. So anyway, here goes. Morning row. Stillness. First light. Water like glass. Quiet and deep. The guide boat. It moves like a floating cloud. Nature talks. An eagle cries. A loon wails. A fish breaks water. The subtleties of sound. No noise other than breathing and the beat of your heart. I am one with the morning. I am free as a bird. Stop. Glide to a standstill. The quiet is deafening. Look, listen. Become one with nature. This is my morning ritual. This is my spiritual awakening. The next one. Reunited. A childhood friend visits, I know not when. Who was he? Who was this special guy? Who was this lovely fellow? Mom said, he's your cousin. I know not where, a mystery, but never questioned. Throughout my youth, I wait for his coming. The visits stop. Where is my friend? Question, who is this man? My cousin? No, my brother. A link to my past. And this, because it's spring, I didn't write this, but every year when I was working, I'd always report, the first day of spring, I would come into the office and recite this poem. That comes from Brooklyn. Spring has sprung, the grass is riz. I wonder what a point is. There you are, sitting on a coin. A point and a trumpet and eating 20 wines.
All right, we have Bob Jess, Glenn Rodriguez, and then following Glenn will be Ross James.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I love a podium. It's a place to put my stuff. This first one I'm going to read is just, I tried to keep the same rhyme almost running through the whole thing. It's called Rose. Hive of edges, ear-soft ledges, swirl-combed presence, crimson message, earth-made selvage, whirlpool spillage, core and self-edge, silken scrimmage, cloud-close spaces, shells of graces, sleeves and cases, ripped clean traces, spin and stasis, frailest braces, cup of rages, tender freight is, furls and blazes, bowl of pages, layered engines wrapped oasis. At first, words came to me like fish or antelopes, without definitions, but with rustlings, shapes, and the flutter of syllabics, and other words that rode along inside, and I was sure irony was metallic. I knew its three-beat foot, its elegy, its infamy. I felt it must be hard and never light, that it worked in parallels like rolled steel rails, pulled ships into the sea, that it made nothing of a black complexity, and out of bright nothing, tragedy. Like any double thing attached by seams or riveted, it knew cooled fury, was that mirror that swallows up a room, reflecting
and repeating endlessly, framing in the thing you go back to. Joy that brushed against it knew despair. Laughter was its flint, and love the spark that rose up naturally. I almost got around its locomotion, its subterranean blade. This poem is called Piano. It's really a poem written from the point of view of someone who does not play the piano, but who loves it anyway. Inside its curved wood, an iron harp lies encased. It has a face that drops in toward the keys and hides the well where music flies and inward breaks. Each strike an ache, each chord a flood, a lullaby, a bell. Whitman called it glib, but it binds together high spirits and grief's mad ace in a chambered spell. Its reason is time, it makes its own weather. Sound is its sonnet, scribble, wave, and knock. A waltz, a fugue, it's silent, then it's not. My last one, I'm going to read something new. Sometimes you get kind of tired of reading older ones, and this one is about a vegetable. It's called To the Beat. Magenta bulb, no onion scales, a bleeding out on the knife, dense and darkest sweet, how you dye everything. Within the sandpaper skin, a core traced with crescent ghosts. Under the faucet, a pink effusion that ribbons the sink. Sphere and a rat tail, all hair and spine at the base of a planetary presence. Your stalks are red splayed arrows with green leaves arching over the ground, where you hit a shock of incandescence inside the drum. No one ate beets at my house, but I learned on a cutting board to open the root's closed mouth, finger its fluid edge, stain my teeth, and break into the spilling ink.
All right, next up is Ross James.
Let's go.
And then after him is Susan Jordan.
Well, thanks, Barb, for inviting me and my cohort who are hanging in the back. Yes. I love beats. Just wanted to say that. So I don't know in what order I'm going to read anything right now, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come out and read. When you invited me to read, I was thinking about, like, wow, I should get things in order. You know, time to go back, reflect on things that I may have accomplished, and I guess think about things I'm still trying to get done. So I spent the last few days just kind of sifting through old material, new material, as they say, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Is that what it's So I'll start with my own seasonal poems. I didn't know that there's no theme, so I just kind of chose things at random. I'll start with my seasonal poem entitled Cookie Season. They're out there, everywhere now. Post offices, libraries, hardware stores, wherever they can charm us with their signs of sweet, high-fat innocence. I've taken the other side of the street to evade your young capitalist callings, and I've pretended to be on my phone or have my head in the clouds. Yet after weeks of avoidance, I cannot break your strongholds to the grocery store. There, you swindle me with your cookie smiles. No, I don't want another box. Wait, the prices went up another $1, and there's a new flavor? What happened to the one I liked? It's now called Pernicious Delight. 1 box, please. All right. Now that the comical's out of the way. So I'll read a duo of grandfather poems because I can't seem to get away from them. And gentlemen, perhaps you forgive me for ones you may have heard in the past. The first one's just called Pap-Pap, which is what I called my grandfather. Pap-Pap. You must hold the forestock firmly in the palm of your hand, he tells me, like you're gripping your life and you don't want to let go. He shoves the stock deep into my shoulder and forces my elbow squarely up and away, telling me it's going to feel strange, even painful, until my muscles develop the precision and accuracy. As he raises my arm to a perfect hold, I study through the sight, one eye pinched across the barrel to a distant prone on a thin, pathetic tree. When I reach for the trigger, his voice lowers, his eyes widen behind his thick eyeglasses. Not yet, he says. Not until you see the target. When you do, take a deep breath, hold it, and then pull. In that moment, I want the shot to be perfect, as if a single pull of the finger could wish away the distance between us. Yet my precision is not enough to find the target through my trembling sight. Thank you. All right, the other grandfather poem, titled Beating with a D. When he died, my grandmother, mother, aunts, and uncles divided up his valuables: a coin collection, old bonds, insurance policies, watches, military uniforms, antique guns. And what was left went to his grandchildren: old cameras, fishing poles, third and fourth sets of tools, pens, specially collected mugs. Somehow, his embroidery beads and beadwork supplies came to me. The small beads were organized by color in a large plastic case, along with clasps and fishing line, tiny scissors, and unfinished projects. My mother would later show me a leather vest he had fashioned in perfectly matched patterns of southwestern colors: turquoise, white, red, yellow. He was a Pennsylvanian of German descent, but he was allured by the West, many times driving his wife and kids to places where life may have made the most sense. Sometime after his death, my family and I moved to a new town. I stuffed my childhood in desk drawers, and I spent nights in my bedroom hunched over under my yellow desk lamp, searching through the drawers filled with fool's gold, collector's coins, pins, and buttons, and underneath it all, a large plastic case. When his veteran friends and my uncle spoke on his war service and his loyalty to family, no one mentioned beads or drives out west. One night I opened his case, and with a needle I stole from my mother's sewing kit, I threaded a silly thin string and made patterns that came to me suddenly: blue, yellow, green, white, blue, yellow, green, white. Thank you. All right. So ends the duo of grandfather poems. Perhaps newer territory, or not. Okay, this one's, newer. Titled River. All right. There lives a river flowing deep inside, her waters silver and cold, from the heart she never seemed to find, a love she would ever know. She pours and runs through valleys, the green she sees all around. Nothing ever stops her way, this is how she's never found. No rain will ever seem to fade the river at her core, for she knows that she was never made to ask for something more. She bends and breaks her mountains, she turns away her head. She seeks to join the oceans, finding sorrow there instead. Love may never find its ocean as it wends and whiles its time. She only knows the motion of the river deep inside. River. That's a new one. One more? All right, let's do one more. I'll save this one for another time. This one's titled Absolution. Absolution. More happy notes to end on. The cross hangs listlessly from the rearview mirror, and looking past it, she stares at the oblivion of the asphalt on the side street. The trees above and in front of her bow limply like servants before a king, their heavy heads dripped with the tears of sunlight. She does not see the church across the street, its wooden doors propped open, parishioners streaming out, nor does she see the digital green clock on her console, transforming seconds into a new minute, motioning to her, "It's time, it's time." She remembers only his face, grinning above her as he swore to her, "I love you," and stole the sunlight from out of the sky. In that moment, he was her king. The dim luminescence of the car clock stares back at her. She promised never again. He was supposed to be her king. That night she drove home alone while heavy raindrops rose from the black asphalt and the penetrating pain of loss swelled through her body. Here she waits in her car. The wooden doors remain open, and she whispers a Hail Mary as the parishioners pile into their cars, the light above the trees casting darkness upon the asphalt, sending forth its king. Absolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, we have Susan Sheridan next, and then after Susan is Dave Lau.
I knew that. So I brought two little spring poems, and I have to say this is the first time I have been out without a mask among people and seeing faces, and it is, I'm a little drunk with it. looking at faces. Wow. So, okay, this one is called Architects. The first robin song of spring and the natural springing to build a nest, a home, followed robin's unmistakable instinct. This is the season, no less a springboard for me to build a palace in my mind the instant after you said straight on to me, so good, so very good to see you again. And this is another one with birds in it. This is called Up Close. The moment they were born, their mouths opened. 3 baby robins on the eave outside the bedroom window. I saw this, up close, I saw this. 3 tiny heads tilted back at 45 degrees. Open mouths pleading or demanding, hard to know which. Mother robin is statue still, her gaze a little worried, a little proud, shot through with unmistakable awe. What have I done? I know that look. I saw it up close on my own mother's face when I'd ask her things she dared not tell me.
Thank you, Susan. Dave Lau, and then after Dave we'll have Jennifer London.
Can you hear me if I...
Oh, you're good then, you're good.
Thank you. Well, I'm a single father, and just noticed all the poems I chose are all about mothers and fathers and children, which is apropos, I think. First one is called Mending. At night she sits up late, mending a colorless dress, spread across her thighs like a narrow billowing sea, steering her needle through willful waves of white. Over the timber crack of thunder, she hears her child cry. The lightning illumines her empty bed. This next one is called Flags, and it went through extensive editing when I met with my group, my cohort, and then I decided to just read the original one. Your mom called to say she thinks of me sometimes, and she hopes the kids are okay. But the apartment's a mess, and I can't find my wallet, and I still need you to sign that form I told you about the last time you were here. But you only call me when I've done something wrong. And it's cold in here with the window open, and the kids hanging on the banister like flags. And this is a poem I just wrote for this occasion. I wrote it last night while sitting in a meeting. It's called just had a memory about Sunday school. And thus it is called Sunday School. Sunday school. When I was 6 years old and went to Sunday school, they gave out gold pins for perfect attendance. I wanted to be like my brother, who never missed a week, and made my parents so proud he was their golden child. Outside the parish hall afterward, playing football with the boys, his eyes, stoplight red and flamed, would seek me out, and then, when I dropped the touchdown pass, he threw my body on the ground and beat me senseless with his fists, his golden pin stuck in his lapel. And they would take us home. I never said a word to anyone, just swallowed my pain and dreamed of perfect attendance. The next two poems are kind of like connected. They are about, first one, I just feel like it needs a little bit of context. First one is about when I first got divorced and I was losing the kids and I had to drop them off at a parking lot where the mother was meeting us. I remember the parking lot most. The summer tar, the grid lines filled sparsely with cars, like a mouth with punched out teeth. That day, the sun looked like a child's drawing on the fridge, lollipop yellow, perched on a tree. I told your mom I'd get you there by 5. She was already waiting when we parked, standing by the car like an orange traffic sign. You were holding the ceramic snake, the one you made for me at camp, and told me you'd never let it go. Drawn out like silly putty, stretched into a thin dangling string, I put your things in the back of her car. That day, your eyes looked as brown as the crumbling autumn leaves that were months away from falling, and I told you everything would be okay. I wonder if you still have that snake, or if it got lost somehow, as quickly forgotten as each passing season. I said what I remembered most was the parking lot, but how could that be true when the last thing I saw was your face in the window, moving away? Well, now I have all the kids, and let me tell you, my life is overwhelming. It's called This Side of the Door, a poem for single fathers. When I close the door and say goodnight, I hear you laughing, creeping swiftly like ghosts flitting from bed to bed, pulling the covers over your heads, wrapped in each other's warmth. On this side of the door, the house is empty. I stand in the hall, a heartbeat in human form, pulsing into the darkness, a radar sounding the emptiness for something, anything, moving out in silent rings, straining for a reply. I can hear myself breathing as you both fall asleep. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Okay, we have Jesse Longer, and then we'll have Owen Lucas.
Hi, everyone. Okay. So this is called Lover Loser. Lover, you got lost in a toss-up of pretzels and Netflix. I didn't know how to couch you next to me, plaid on the leather sofa, my phone molting on your counter. I said, let's order food. I said, let's fuck all night. I said, but you weren't listening. Instead, the night began to doze. We were out of detergent. The TV was on. What else? Our day was managed by indifference. You wouldn't floss. I was told to stop nagging. There was nothing more to do. And the noise of the place agreed. Leave what's left alone. So the afternoon got on without us. Pink diapers in a full moon. We scurried from appointment to appointment, texting friends to say that we wouldn't be late. And I kept hearing you say, it doesn't matter. It's all over now anyway. My rearview mirror was fogged, so I couldn't respond. A draft at the door meant the time had come, and I don't think I cared about my skin peeling or how you sneered at the delivery boys getting comfortable in the hall. I thought about it, and somehow you looked the same as you always did. Lipid kid, a long grain, yellow fuzz lining your cheek. Oh, how I forgot to ask you when it all started. so long ago. The next one's called Grocery Story. At the grocery store, lines are unnecessary. Ponytailed women in flip-flops and spandex push their tykes through aisles of snack food, while khaki men wait in turns for them at the checkout. Calamari is on sale, but it's in the deli department. I'm looking for dairy. The man at the fish counter suggests stuffed clams, but I doubt I'll be that lucky. I wasn't yesterday. It's supposed to be nice out, Merryweather clouds and cumulonimbus, but it looks like shit. That's why there are no windows in here. They've seen the outside before. Pleasant smelling air conditioning. Nobody knows what anyone else is eating, so we avoid each other everywhere except produce. It keeps things organized. Still, we manage to make a mess. We can't help it. An employee kicks his feet off to deal with the problem, and Doris finds Eugenie just to talk about the plums. They're heirloom and bright this year, like she likes them. Okay, this is the last one, called Bookstore Days. He dedicated his life to book parties, talking on the day in hard-to-determine terminology with other men, middle-aged and unemployed, translating records. They lived under stairs, behind the waste paper, in hard-to-reach back places of weird commitment and faulting signs. I remember it well. Nights were longer, and the orange sun exposed us each morning at the feet of our lovers, brows bruised by the low bar of our great expectations. For entertainment, we bred creatures of mistrust, round, furry things that regard you barrel-eyed to say nothing at all. Pictures in a hallway of years-long dead pets. What did I know of words in those days? Peddling boredom. I was 20, and fantasy was a trick. I cared only to smudge paper and make guilty sex with undefined men, cooperating on street corners in the face of just anyone. I remember some of it. Dark rooms that coupled and uncoupled our eyes, looking for literary echoes. Pupils distended to all the more respectable niches. Old hickory floorboards and bad poetry. A place for Instagram daybeds where women would tilt their heads alone, scanning the crowd for a flattering look. It wasn't the end of the world, I'm not saying that, but it felt wrong not being there. Neon egg white, inaccurate. And I told them, I said so, I like saying it all over the place. People hate to be bored, betray each other just to get out of it. In this way, it's hard to let go of not making sense. Each opinion diminishes whatever you were going to say, and monogamy is unreliable in nice weather. I didn't mean to be the other woman, but I was. Why would he have stopped me? Whoever wanted to correct the record wasn't invited to the party. Oh, we know there's a time for what we are allowed to do. And under these circumstances, well, it's not all the time in the world, believe me. So one tends to strategize the conduct of a career, climate control in inhospitable care facilities. I myself continue to guard against the day when you will ask me, what have you done for me lately?
Thank you, Jesse. Okay, we have Owen Lucas, and then following Owen will be Dawn Patrick, please.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
All right. So I wrote 3 poems for tonight because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know this was happening until Ross texted me the other day, because I don't read my personal email too much anymore. So I loved your piano poem and the part about the silence and the music, and you know, we're musicians, some of us in the audience too, and musicians will tell you even when the music isn't playing, there's always still a pulse. So my pulse, yeah, it's still about 80 BPM right now. So that's the kind of pulse that I wrote these poems to. I want to swing through hell like a gong. I want to cling to your love lifelong. I want to reel in right for the wrong. As I pass to the past, I will speak my song. I heard a word form right out of the air. I watched the light form fall upon a stair. I was a life form trying not to care, but the white light carried me way up over there. I had a bad year slipping off the shelf, bro. I got a dad bit, I'm hitting on myself, bro. I got a tightness right here in my chest, though. You might have wondered, man, but you don't even know. I got a feeling that we all know pain. Hard years pass by, and we know they'll come again. That's why I always try to see the sunshine in the rain, and the rain shine in the sun, which I guess is just the same. I want to swing through hell like a gong. I want to cling to your love lifelong. I want to reel in right for the wrong. As I pass to the past, I will speak my song. I will sing my words like the preacher man preferred. I will spit my verses out word by word. And in the time to come, if I talk like a bird, I will fly like a beast that sings undeterred. My life here is a gift, man. None of this is a given. With my last little finger bone tapping out the rhythm. With your indulgence, may my scant... Oh, I got a yelp. You're going to pay good money for a yelp. Was it a Yelp review? All right. So this one had a title until someone else had a title that's too similar, so I decided to make it untitled. So that awkward moment. But I like, I'm an English teacher, and one of the ways I get through my life as an English teacher is by messing with my students a lot. So I love to do that thing where you like repeat a word over and over again until it doesn't mean anything, just to freak them all out, you know? And also as an English teacher, we often are talking about how words that are spelled differently sound the same. So I decided to work both of those annoying things into this poem, just to piss everybody off, right? Okay, so here we go. When you say it out loud, no sounds like no. Like I know, no, no makes yes so. Unknowing I could know, no knows me not. No knowing could I know what I have not got. When you say it out loud, there sounds like there. Like did you see where there, over there? And I know no knowing them there ever went, where the place my knowing them there got spent. When you say it out loud, rose sounds like rose. As in rows of roses, rose where who knows? No one knows where the rose there blows, for a rose by any other name ever there grows. When you say it out loud, I sounds like I. As the rose grows, I-eyed roses, no lie. And the rose I there spied over my knee left a shadow of the known, no knowing can be. So no, there, roses rise up. And I know incarnadine cup. As a name nowhere makes I my own, all words will wilt like flowers, that's shown. Rise, roses, no knowers, there, my loves. You are in my eye, and the bottom is up. In the flower of my eye, your no known thing, but like rows on rows of roses, your eyes still sing. All right, my bell people, I got you with the bells this time. All right, this is my poem called Bell. And I did already tell you I wrote it knowing I was coming here tonight, but don't let that think, there was no link between the fact that it said bells in the invitation and the fact that the poem is called Bell. It's just a coincidence. I'm very original. I can come up with my own ideas for poems. I want to make that clear, all right? It's fine. Anyway, it's called Bell. And before I read it to you, I just want to say, I've been writing poems for about 15 years now, and the whole time, as I'm sure many of you will relate to this, I've been trying to avoid cliche studiously. And I've realized recently that I haven't written very many poems in which I actually said what I really think or feel. So I made a decision, let's just go all in on cliche. Let's just lean into that shit, you know what I mean? So this is my poem called Bell. Open up your eyes at the sound of the bell. Open up your heart and your mind as well. For ring, ring, ring goes the chime in your chest, and bell, bell, bell is the song that's best. The tone of the bell is pure like water, like father, like mother, like son, like daughter, like spirit or God or Brahma or Buddha, like nothing and something being both together. So open up your eyes at the sound of the bell. Open up your heart and your mind as well. For ring, ring, ring goes the chime in your chest, and bell, bell, bell is the song that's best. The sound of the bell ringing out is like a flame. It will ring in the heat and the cold and the rain. And the fire dies down, but it rises now again. Because you can't drown sound in the ground, that's plain. So open up your eyes at the sound of the bell. Open up your heart and your mind as well. For ring, ring, ring goes the chime in your chest. And bell, bell, bell is the song that's best. I once met a man tried to ring his own bell, and he couldn't get his hands on it, strange to tell. So this man fought himself like a fiend in hell, yet the whole damn time it was ringing so well. It was ringing out strong like bell, 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 but he felt such pain that he just couldn't tell. And he covered up his eyes, and he wept, and he fell to the ground where the chime rose up on the swell. For the hell we carry is the hell we live, and the love we carry is the love we give. And the bell rings us, not the other way round. We are here for a spell in the middle of the sound. As a part of the ringing, we are moving around, and later on we'll ring our bells underground. So open up your eyes at the sound of the bell. Open up your heart and your mind as well. For ring, ring, ring goes the chime in your chest, and bell, bell, bell is the song that's best. When you open up your heart to the things you are, you will hear that sound carried wide and far. You'll carry the sound like a traveling star through the spaces of the heart to the things you are. And you'll know when you hear it ringing at last that the sorrows of the future and the sorrows of the past are but parts of the life that bell holds fast. No sound so small, no world so vast. Last time. So open up your eyes at the sound of the bell. Open up your heart and your mind as well. For ring, ring, ring goes the chime in your chest, and bell, bell, bell is the song that's best. Thank you.
Bravo. Wow. All right, next up we have these guys. Amazing. We have Don Patrick coming up next, and then Donna Dish.
Now there's some really professional speakers here tonight. Oh, and thank you for that humor, because this armchair activist is going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer. The spring poems that I chose to read tonight are more about the current events of the recent springs, the last couple of recent springs. The first one inspired by a talk between an interview with James Gordon and this Gayle King of CBS Morning, and also that the casual and I think sometimes cruel and couched in incorrect history comments that people were making in response to Black Lives Matter. This is called bingo. I have no idea how he sounds like, so bear with me. Bingo. He said, "Congratulations on transcending your place in the world. 31, get up and run." She said, "I just wish she wasn't so black." 71, bang the drum. He said, "They don't own homes, but they all drive Cadillacs." 55, snakes alive. She said, "I'll tell them you threatened me." 73, queen bee. He said, "Did you hear it was staged?" 46, up to tricks. She said, "You know I'm not prejudiced, but..." 62, turn the screw, tickety-boo. He said, "I now realize this is not a black problem. This is my problem." 54, clean the floor. She said, "Bingo." 68, saving grace. I used to stick my head in as a child at the bingo big barn-like places off Virginia Beach as a child, so those calls of bingo are familiar to me, even though I researched them a bit. Our library hosted a beautiful event here with three showed up of the Connecticut's most talented hip-hop and rap artists, February 17th, and their poetry was so impactful. So I attempted to capture their rhyme in the spirit of commonality here in this poem. Ode to Otherness. Taste the juice of ripened fruit and know the secrets of ancient seed, of sacred bones, genomes, and cultural history. Too many wither behind the closed doors of inequity, growth undercut by apathy, humanity at war with skin-deep identity, inclusion denied and subjugation by decree, yet we are all, descendants of Lucy and R.D. Like I said, a little Debbie Downer. This one, I am an armchair activist to a certain degree. My grandmother was Ukrainian and her family, my grandfather Lithuanian, they immigrated to Canada, then on to the United States. And my grandmother sometimes said I was too serious, and you've seen this before, she'd take her finger and make me laugh and say, "This is the tiniest violin in the whole world, and it's playing just for you." And I really miss her dried apple face, but I'm glad she's not here this spring to see what's happening in Ukraine. This is called They Say, and it's in work. I've been working on this just the last couple of days. They say, a concrete sarcophagus of an unimaginable scale looms amid 7 forced fires now burning in Chernobyl. They say nuclear power is safe, but 75 years after the first nuclear bomb exploded outside Los Alamos, New Mexico, there remains no permanent nor safe storage solutions for nuclear waste. Not in my backyard, they say. And so graveyards of spent fuel in stainless steel canisters and reinforced cement coffins litter nuclear power sites in perpetual way around the world. So the sarcophagus holds 180 tons of reactor fuel, spent but as deadly as ever, 26,000 cubic yards of nuclear waste. Its hollow interior encapsulates 200 tons of radioactive lava-like corium, 30 tons of highly contaminated dust, and 16 tons of uranium and plutonium. In 1986, the core melted down in explosions. 400 times the strength of Hiroshima destroyed the reactor building and sent an airborne radioactive cloud across Europe and eventually fallout around the globe. The results of exposure, of which are still being measured. Occupying forces now manage the most dangerous nuclear disaster site in the world, and yet again, we hold our breath in hope an end-of-days event is avoided. The sarcophagus is the color of weathered bones and veils of widows. Its ghostly cast is over 25 stories high, and liquid poison, like a stealth killer, continues to leak slowly into the ground under its canopy. Its eventual path and impact unknown. They say wild animals have repopulated a 1,600 square mile exclusion zone. The flora is green, and even tourists can visit for limited increments of exposure. But the animals are rife with cesium. Apocalyptic amounts of strontium-90 and plutonium and genetic mutations abound. It was originally estimated the exclusion zone would not be safe to farm or inhabit for another 20,000 years. That experiments to raise animals and grow wheat are already in progress. Today, as nuclear warhead missiles continue to be launched, these machismo actions will impress who? Empower what? They'll still say nuclear power is safe, like everything, until it isn't.
Thank you. Okay, Donna Dish motions up, and Marcia Simha is after Donna Dish.
Okay, we're going to Vermont.
Let's go.
It's mud season. They're making maple syrup, sugar. To wring gold out of the gray shirt tails of winter, miners drill holes into drab trunks of red and black sugar maples. Next, they insert a small brass spout. Then on each trunk hang a galvanized bucket to catch the tree's watery, silvery soul, ping-panging shyly at first, then filling the heavy, empty bucket until it is a full, lost lake of itself. Whosoever makes maple syrup must be willing, loyal, and hale at the end of a late winter day, to haul the brimming buckets back to the sugar house and pour the plentiful sap into the troughed, scalding pans, and not mind the imperative task of feeding a white, hot fire for hours, so the sap can boil down 40-fold, thicken and glisten, and join the ranks of honey. When the day has left for good, when the stars we search for and name and think we know are just where we left them. This is not a labor of love or of handsome profit, but a tradition of patience and know-how here in wind-chinked sugar houses of Vermont, where few words are spoken and mostly men distill the sap and grate the ambers. Each March, they watch one another disappear and reappear in sweetened clouds of woody steam, thieves and tillers of the looted trees, in shacks like these, where grace and mercy burn. Shelf life. Old books smell earthy and deserted, like that lone fat potato hunched in a bin. They smell like damp cellars in late April, riverbed loam, dust, and ratty dried roses. And yet, when their musk shrouds a room, most of us inhale it like something freshly baked. What is it? What is the appeal of this scent? Something about the old age marriage of paper and print? Our confidence in their spines and threads, their hidden glue hardened like ancient honey, or our years of holding them and them us with their wholesale truths and whopping feats, how we wandered down their silent, snowbound streets, the lifeless tundra eyeing us in the distance. So when their moss and shadows swamp us in an attic or smolder on a shelf, it's instinctive. We flip them open for a gust, a good gust of that grand heft, pulling in the solitude of their bone-sad sweetness. their little tease, our little taste of their years of night without us. Okay, breaking and entering. Rife with mold and randy mice, the condemned house is a fixture of resistance. Ruby-spined, green-winged trees of heaven flaunt their metal and feather the wounded roof and vandalized windows. The unlivable house at home with disintegration and desertion, hemmed in by knee-high grass and haywire bushes. The driveway whittled down to a thin, voluptuous path until the day of reckoning, when the excavator arrives with its steel-toothed 3,000-pound bucket, not to ravage the ruin, but woo and coax its collapse with strategic nudges, all very civil and subtle. The house lets go of its sinks, shutters, hinges, railings, wires, tubs, cupboards, moldings, each knock absolving the house of its storied days and vigilant nights. The heavenly trees buckle, bedrooms of siblings and spouses splinter, walls lower softly as sails. An honest day's work of was hauled off in dumpsters, sheetrock clouds laid to rest. Not a hair or nail or latch left on a naked acre. For years I envied this ruin's home, sweet homelessness, its decline and vacant stare, its scorn for beauty and its beauty all the same. Up above the country road, I watched it watch me drive from here to there, sorting my own losses while it kept its counsel. The hilltop misfortune teller, intimate with the cruelest weather, unlocked and trespassed. I wish one day to be the wild feast it was, and then its buried joy. Okay, Lavalette, little town on the Jersey Shore. Lavalette. Our sun-kissed aunts and jovial uncles from those Lavalette summers are gone now, as are the old women in black suits and floral caps who clung to sisal rope strung between stakes pitched in the ocean floor. Their weathered porcelain bodies bobbed in the crucible we feared. Each one's tug of war with the Atlantic one, how they lumbered to their umbrellas, cured, while the sea manhandled our delicate bodies and spat us out like sour milk. We retreated to the swash zones, lacy give and take, sorting our blood arcs and muscle shells, heaping tin pails with stiff starfish that reeked of easy misfortune and nevermore. At 5 each day we returned to our cottage, Jersey's sugar-fine sand in our scalps and lashes. The boom of the breakers followed us home, nipping our heels and sniffing our ankles, a brazen, pubescent posse. These righteous, ragged, remnant waves, all stunned by the barren stillness of land. Real and invisible, they barged into our rooms, thinning even more as they trespassed and fanned, realizing too late that they had wandered too far. The last of their humble thunder, nosing our shoes, beds and books abandoned on the floor, surge upon surge turning into light as new waves wallowed in their shallow finale. In and out the crushed tide rushed, bemused and envious of our humanness. They groomed and fattened our dreams. All through the night they persisted, and so we woke to their chain of enchantment and despair. Their brisk arrival and departure. No scrim of salt or sweet repose remained. So another summer day began in our suits on the beach by 9, the rising sun blinding himself on the sea, brazen and proud of its sharded path of broken glass and slivered silver, all glare and dazzle, that slip of shine, that fishy harbor and decoy divine that hushed us and pleased the crowd. Okay, one more. No cake. Never sizzle or marinate Alaskan king salmon. Overcook it, sauce it, or spice it up. Keep the flesh of this fish simple. Never mold these Olympians into any sort of cake. Rather, remember their rum-springer years at sea and their swashbuckling rocketry. Imitate the spectacular leaps of faith of these ancient mariners and knights of noble scows and silver scales. Their last port, the pebbled beds of their birth and youth, where fin by fin they spawn and expire. A collegial brew of roughnecks and aviators. Now, fire up your oven to 400 degrees. Place the pink fillet skin side down, rub with olive oil, salt, pepper, and thyme. Roast for 20. Enliven with lemon. Give thanks and partake of His Majesty. This alone brings the king back to life.
Next we have Marcia.
And I want you to know, we did not coordinate our wardrobes tonight. We must just be in a turquoise mood. What an honor to follow all these wonderful poets. So, I know spring is coming, but summer is where my heart lies, so I'm going to skip straight to there. This is called Interlopers. Friends wait, hungrily, eagerly, to relieve me of the wild raspberries that overwhelm my yard. The product of bushes greedy for ever more space than they have already annexed in their ongoing garden coup, forming an unwelcoming bramble. For all but one fleeting fortnight, when they beg forgiveness for their unsightly presence with the offering of sweet ruby berries, to be savored warm and dewy each morning, and shared with the wild birds, to whom I cede, in unspoken agreement, the thorny heart of the patch, reachable only in full gardening armor. The birds seem to understand the periphery is mine alone, berries within easy reach. In anticipation, the friends swear they can almost taste the ripe bounty, and take for granted their share in the harvest, without having shared in the labor, and rail at the mention of my cutting back the garden interlopers. I offer them bushes of their own. I have no takers. So April is coming when it rains. I named this poem Rain. My friends told me the name of it was Perception. So there you go. The raindrops kissed my eyelids and plopped on my outstretched tongue. I reveled in the squishy sound my yellow rubber boots made as I joyfully splashed through puddles, not in my path. I am 6. I awakened to the pinging sound of last night's rain, drops seeping through my aging roof and finding their way to tin buckets and bowls, strategically placed around the room. Some on target, others not. The roof and I are old. Blessed, blessed rain. I watched with cautious optimism as the precious drops made contact with the arid, parched soil. I looked to the gray sky and uttered a prayer. Perhaps there will be a crop after all. I love the perfume that emanates from the warm pavement as it is soaked with gentle rain. It is the scent of early spring. I hate the damn rain. There'll be no game today. The old ankle deep in sucking mud. I hate the goddamn rain. So this is very appropriate for tonight. It's called What I Learned in Poetry Class. Barb, just you can leave the room right now. Poetry is such an odd form. In its writing, there is no norm. Syntax out the window flies, and for good grammar, there's no prize. Punctuation is capricious. One's apt to comma as one wishes. semicolon, dot, or dash, feel free to toss them in the trash. Should your rhyme scheme hit a wall, no, you need not rhyme at all. So ramble on or make it terse. Do as you please, it's called free verse. Yet this one thing will make it sweeter, like when in a taxi, watch the meter. Just know exceptions do exist. What follows is a partial list, colon here. If formal verse paints your word pictures, know that structures come with strictures. Things like sonnets do have rules. Ignore them and you'll sound like fools. Stick to couplets, only 7, not 16, not 11. Should it transpire, you're at a loss. Stick with Shakespeare, he's the boss. The Japanese tend to be formal. 5-7-5 is what is normal. But I'm sure it isn't like you to mess around with ancient haiku. Some think poetry is highbrow and turn up noses like it, I'm sorry. Some think poetry is highbrow. They're apt to raise an eyebrow and turn up noses like it's smelly, if not Shakespeare, Keats, or Shelley. A poetry slam's not their milieu. It simply isn't what they do. I'm sure these snobs would be abashed that my favorite poet's Ogden Nash. Well, I have a birthday coming in a couple of weeks. I will not share which one it is, but it's a fairly substantial number. So this is called Happy Birthday to Me. Once I was a fair young lass, but I'm left wondering how the hottie that I used to be resembles Yoda now. Some days I feel that I still have the power to beguile. Could it be that I am simply living in denial? I recall how years ago, for hours I could prance. I'm a little older now, I do a slower dance. My dresses cling in different spots. My hair's now gray and shorn. My necklines are a little higher, sexy heels no longer worn. My shoulders are a little stooped, my posture's not so straight. Once only worn in Walmart, Dr. Scholl's now dominate. Birthdays come and birthdays go, and lately I have found I have several body parts now closer to the ground. Once I was a shiny sloop, now I'm a barge. Things that once were medium are now extra large. Extra chins, extra weight, that sneaks up year by year, insidious assaults upon bosom, hips, and rear. Yet Mother Nature's found a way to safeguard our sanity. Fading eyesight helps our mirrors to protect our vanity. Crepey wrinkles, sagging skin, a little facial hair. If you cannot see them.
One more.
Okay. Oh, which one do I want? Okay, so we all do fairy tales when we were kids. And you think you know how they ended? Maybe. This is called If the Shoe Fits. The beginning part bears no repeating, since this tale you've all been told. When Cinderella leaves the ball, that's when the true tale does unfold. The prince, it seems, was not that charming. Still had acne, breath was bad, really wasn't so disarming, was a spoiled brat and a cad. So when it told the hour of midnight, Cindy fled in sheer disgust for all the trouble that she'd gone to. The goddamn ball was a great big bust. As her pumpkin coach hied homeward, her little mind began to plot how she'd hide from dumb Prince Rupert, who broke her toe in mid-gavotte. In pain, she kicked off one glass slipper, shattered shards between her toes, thinking, I don't need this klutz, I've got a lot of other bows. Stopped the coach just past the castle, ran home barefoot, knew the rigor of that sprint would make bare feet smell, so they'd be swell. So they'd be just one size bigger. At the dawning of the next day, when the smitten prince and his retinue called at every maiden's home to find the owner of the shattered shoe, Cindy gladly stuck her foot out. She knew the shoe would never slide on. Boy, she thought I'd dodged the bullet. Hoped the prince would simply ride on. Went to her room up in the garret and pulled on her old Doc Martens. Those felt better than dumb glass slippers, since her swollen tootsies were still smarting. All this trouble just for romance. Lord, she sighed, what price passion? Keep your glass shoes, tiaras, corsets. I'll no more be a slave to fashion. This part of the story is unchanged. Her life was filled with mirth and laughter. Just like in any fairy tale, she got her happily ever after. She wed herself a handsome sailor, whom she'd met before too long, went to live in Bora Bora, now sports bare feet and a sarong.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a bunch of hard acts to follow, but I'm just going to read a couple of short ones because we're running late. Lucy, are they going to turn the lights off on us? Are we okay?
8:45.
Oh, okay, we have a little time, but I'm not going to, I promise I won't take up that much time. This poem came up today, and it's funny because it's when I actually had workshopped with the three gentlemen in the back a long time ago. And I just don't know why. It came to mind, and I thought I'd read it with you. It's called Two-Man Saw. It's about my dad. And Two-Man Saw. Dutch elm disease took its toll on the once lush sentinel by our pond. A titan, I often climbed to the very top, barks tearing my stomach as I hugged the trunk against the wind. In spring, I strip papery discs from its seed-laden branches, collect them in the folds of my skirt, then toss the confetti coins over my shoulder as I led a lamenting march that presaged the end of all our elms. When the tree was dead beyond a doubt, my father fetched the two-man saw from the barn and summoned me to help. I was good for such chores, but little else. Too word-wrapped, too careless with boys. But we both were skilled with blades that cut in both directions. The back-and-forth bite that this time felt like mercy. We put our backs into it, drew the saw straight and stiff, catching the blade only once. And when at last the notch fell out, leaving a startled mouth in the gray trunk, the corpse toppled true, fanned us with a rush of air like a loved one's last exhale. We put the saw away and parted paths again. But at least there was this. Once a gentle Goliath had lain on the ground between us, felled as if by a single stone. It's a happy sound, I have to say. Fairies everywhere. This is, yesterday, a chapbook of mine went to press and will be coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about it. It's called Blinded Birds. It's the story about 3 generations of women in my family who have dealt with lives turned upside down by depression and addiction and alcoholism. And this is the story, toward the end, we get to see the recovery phase, the healing phase, which is fortunate, but also, it's fortunate, it's grace. So this is a poem that, toward the end of the collection, and it's called Return. I awoke thirsty. Winter left me parched. Rain nursed me, swaddled me in fog. Birds came, their small feet lighter than I remembered. They sang, they flew. They found others and brought them to me. A surge ran through me like a jolt of lightning carried through soaked soil. It was a remembered longing for leaves to unfurl at the very ends of me, for life to return after a long night. Talk about Debbie Downer. The collection I'm working on now, I have my oldest sister is in home hospice care now. She's has stage 4 lung cancer, and it has also gone to her brain, which has left her wordless. She's it's a Becker-Broca area, and she can't, although she understands everything that's being said, she can't formulate sentences either verbally or in writing. So it's frustrating for her. So I wanted to read a couple of poems from the collection I'm working on now. I'll start with this one. I think I can find, yes. It's called My Dying Sister's Words Are Gone. It's no use to call her now. I bought these signal lamps instead. I touch my lamp and hers glows pink. She touches back. My lamp glows blue. All those years we didn't talk, a wasteland of withheld words. Now we signal. Pink, blue, pink. In Sunday school we sang, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel,
Hers was always always the loudest no. Now the word escapes her. And another from the same series called, I just wrote this today, so it's not done, but I transfer old home movies from my dying sister. Christmas trees weighted with too much German tinsel. Our mother smoking in her chair, legs folded under her. A German shepherd shot dead for killing the neighbor's chickens. What we remember, what we don't. It flickers before us in soundless black and white, all that remains on 60-year-old celluloid. But even when the moments were new, they were already fading, already becoming the space where the bird flew, all lift and breath and nothingness. And I'll end with one that's more uplifting. So this one is called Sea. A hummingbird hovers just outside the kitchen window, remembering the kindness of summers past. An alchemist bee darts home to the hive, hastening to translate pollen and sunshine into pure gold. A cut heals, leaving no scar. A lost dog finds its way home. A child forgives a mother's unkindness. A book spurs us to weep. An artist breeds amazement out of a gray neuronic slurry. Stars perforate the night sky. Time pumices the jagged edges of grief. Trees reach skyward. Waves stroke the shore. Even when tugged by a jealous moon, hair transmutes to silver. Eggs hatch from prize-filled bubbles from a gumball machine. Hearts beat unbidden. Wheels, windows, sign language, skin. We are half-asleep fairies inhabiting an enchanted land. We bask in small miracles each moment of our small lives. We see them, touch them, breathe them in, unaware. And when we exhale, the grit of our indifference polishes the world for those who do see. Wonderful. I thank you all for coming. What a collection of poets and poems. So stay well. Hope to see you in April for the 4 poets who are coming with their Witness Stones poems. I'm not supposed to say that. That's illegal to say. It's a trademark symbol, but I did. So anyway, have a good night. Stay home.